Hello from Izu Kogen. My name is Tim McLean, and my friend Yasunari Yatchan Hemi-san asked me to speak to you a little bit about Planet Izu, the Izu Peninsula. I'm from the United States, but I've lived in Japan off and on since 1981, and have been living here in the Izu Peninsula. I live in Izu Kogen, which is on the east coast in Ito City. Well, it's actually not really much of a city where I live. It's more of a countryside community. But I've been here for about 30 years now. I first came to Japan to study Zen. I was practicing in a Zen temple, met my wife, Yoshiko, and a number of other really wonderful people. My background is in psychology, and particularly a branch of psychology called transpersonal psychology, which also looks at wellness and well-being. And I facilitate workshops and retreats here in Izu. That's actually how I first came to Izu. Was a friend of mine was doing retreats here at hot spring resorts. I'm originally from the Midwest, but I lived in California, in Santa Cruz, California, before I lived here. So before I took over my present job, I have a small company that I own. That was back in 1989, and when I knew I was going to be in Japan for a while, I didn't want to live in Tokyo, and Izu had this incredible attraction to me, particularly because the mountains and ocean reminded me of Highway 1, particularly along the coast near Big Sur, Point Lobos, places like that. And the longer I've lived here, the more intimate my relationship has become with the people, the landscape. I like to call it Planet Izu because, let me just share something here. It's a microcosm. The peninsula is itself about 45 miles long and only about 22 miles wide at its point, but it is so varied. It has mountains that are 4,600 feet high, and valleys and environments. The south part of Izu is white sandy beaches, and where I live is volcanic cliffs facing the ocean. Where you are right now in Shuzenji is also a very sort of beautiful little environment with waterfalls and hot springs and beautiful culture. So for a very small peninsula, it has just an incredible variety of microenvironments and biodiversity and geological variety. This particular symbol for Planet Izu, this is a completely spherical stone that formed on the volcanic coast here. It is about over 80 centimeters wide. In other words, it's about 3 feet, a little of 3.5 feet wide, or 3.5 feet in diameter. And it was just in the position in the ocean where it was rolled by the waves for 4,500 years. And to me, it's symbolic of our planet, and that life is, there's something about the circle of life that really inspired me about this particular peninsula being its own little world, and it has been that way for many centuries. And I'll get into the history of Izu in a moment. Here you can see this is the stone. This is looking out on the Jogasaki coast, the Jogasaki National Seashore. This was again from volcanic activity about fourth. This is where I live. This is like in my backyard. These are hexagonal pillars that were extruded when the lava hit the ocean. You can see them in many parts of the world, in Scotland, Ireland, other places. This is a waterfall from the Tajima, and here's the we call it the I call it the Gaia stone. It's an incredible, very powerful experience. You can hear, you can see how large it is, and getting a little bit wet. And I found this very, the local people knew about this, and I actually found it completely on my own when I moved here 30 years ago. I don't want to take up too much time with this video. I have lots of things that I could show you. But I guess the other thing that's very powerful about this place in terms of Japan is that, I'm sure as Yasunari has explained, the Izu Peninsula is on the tip of the Philippine tectonic plate that came up against the Japanese archipelago about 20 million years ago. And geologically, and then after that, Mount Fuji is also connected and associated with Izu, Hakone, and Fuji. And the bay that formed when Izu hit the peninsula is also the deepest part of the ocean. So you have right here at the top of the Izu Peninsula is Mount Fuji, and along the west coast of Izu, at the end of the Izu Peninsula, is the Saruga Bay, which is 8,000, something like 8,200 feet deep. It's the deepest part of the ocean and the highest mountain, Mount Fuji, which is about 12,400 feet high, something like that. So it encapsulates, the Izu Peninsula also kind of captures the imagination of the Japanese people. Also, mythologically, the land of Izu is considered the land of beginnings. Izu means, you can say Izuru means to begin. And because the mountains are so steep and the valleys it's kind of hard to get to travel in Izu unless you travel by boat around the outside. And in ancient times, often we could say mountain ascetics, people who are Buddhist practitioners, would come here to practice meditation and rituals under waterfalls, and to develop themselves spiritually here in Izu as well. In fact, the founder of Shuzenji Temple was the greatest of Japanese saints, named Kukai, who founded the temple there, Shuzenji. He was a great healer, and the story is that there was a young man. His father was very sick. Even though his father was sick, and he needed to take him to the river for a bath, but the water was cold. And Kukai, who happened to be doing spiritual practice in Izu at the time, saw the boy bathing his father and took pity on them and struck his staff in the river. And wow, the hot spring came out. And that's the origin of the hot spring in Suzenji. There's lots of sort of magical, mythical stories like this in Izu and all other places in Japan as well. But it's generally just a very, very powerful place for healing and rejuvenation. Mythically, there's Izu is associated with various mandalas and things like that. Yeah, the Izu Peninsula itself is considered to be the head of a great dragon, and this comes from the Izu-san Shinto shrine. These are some other pictures from mandalas of Izu Hakone, and how the gods and goddesses were formed here. This is another. This is also the forming of the Izu Islands and Izu Peninsula, representing the dragon energy again. Izu is also Yeah, there's a this photograph. That's from West Izu. You can see some picture scene of Mount Fuji. So the sun sets on the west side of Izu Peninsula and it rises on the east side. And I live on the sunrise side here. Yes, I live on the east side. I'm doing this very spontaneously, and as I didn't have my, I'm in the middle of traveling and facilitating workshops, so I'm not able to be with you in person. And Yasunari wanted me to make this little video to tell you about Planet Izu. We're very much involved with SDGs and with the community here. Of course, Izu is known for its fishing, but it's also the mountains are filled with beautiful, clear rivers where wild wasabi, with wasabi fields, and also wasabi is raised here. This is one of the biggest and wasabi producing areas in Japan. But also just incredible citrus fruits and figs and kiwis and just incredible. We go to a wonderful weekly farmers market, a morning market, and fresh eggs and honey and just all kinds of organic vegetables. We're very fortunate that there's many people moving into our community, and we're very connected with people who want to practice organic and regenerative farming. And the population of Japan is aging, and I'm one of them, but it's an aging population, so we're very keen on having Izu be a place where the countryside can be rejuvenated again. And because it's such a dynamic and varied environment, many people, younger people, are moving here and creating crafts and art and farming and rejuvenating traditional practices, particularly around craft and pottery and textiles, all kinds of things. And of course, Yasunari is part of that movement. But overall, I'm very interested in the Izu Peninsula, and the subject of Planet Izu is for us to think globally and act locally to live in a life that's integrated with the planet and with the history of and the spirit of place. So in conclusion, I will just share a few more scenes from here in Izu, and maybe this is the center of the town. This is the Omuro-yama volcano in the center of the town where I live here in Izu. And it doesn't have any trees because they burn the entire mountain every year. They produce a type of grass that is used for tatami mats and weaving, and it's a tradition that's over 450 years old. That's just that is Omurayama, and I live right here on this little piece of land right there. In fact, the piece of land that I live on is from a volcano that erupted. Let me share another thing from a volcano that erupted 2,700 years ago. So it's the newest piece of land on the island of Honshu. Okay, so I heard that you're from Hawaii, and this is in the South Izu. This is near Shimoda, called Shirahama. It's a place where you can see some surfers here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a really beautiful area. Very nice. And this is a waterfall from from Kawazu. This is in central central Izu, high in the mountains, hot spring. This waterfall is about 30 meters high, and there are seven sacred waterfalls in this area, and this is a hot spring. You can see my feet there near the waterfall. But Izu is just a very dynamic and beautiful place. As I say, it's a place where I think that people can be inspired to see how a modern culture can be integrated with the landscape here. There's a lot of development that's happening, but we've been working hard to promote development that is sustainable. Also, that the culture of Izu and the traditional cultures and spiritual practices and healing practices of Izu. That it is a place where people can remember, can come to remember that they are connected to the earth and connected to the planet. So thank you for listening to my talk about Planet Izu, and I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful journey while you're here with Yasunari and all the wonderful people that you're going to meet. And I hope I get to meet you sometime in person. So thanks a lot. Bye-bye. I wanted to add a little comment, something I forgot to say yesterday when I made this, first made this video. But you're going to go to one of my very, very favorite spots, one of our favorite places, which is Rakan. And you're also staying at the Arai Ryokan, which is also one of my favorite places to be in Shizenji. But Rakan is just a very special place, and you're going to meet our friend Atsuko-san. And it's a 200-year-old Japanese farmhouse, and very, very special experience of dining and eating food that's been prepared with incredible love and care. And it's also very close to the Banjo waterfall, which is probably my favorite waterfall in all of Izu. It's not the biggest, it's not the most dynamic, but it is a very, very special feeling and spirit in that place. And so I wanted to just share this one. So I hope you have a wonderful time in magical Izu, and that it is a place for you all to look at your own path with heart, and maybe hopefully Izu will help with your own beginnings of the next what's next for you, what's next for all of us here on planet Earth, in whatever part of the world that is precious and beautiful for you. So wishing you all the best. Have a great day.